You know, everybody talks about masculine aura. You have to have masculine aura. This is how you get masculine aura. Oh, alpha male. Ooh, like, here's the reality, fellas. There is one specific thing that you need to do to always guarantee that you will have masculine aura. And when you once I tell you this, it literally will change the way that you look at your life in general. I know it's happened to me many, many times where certain situations, certain environments I've been in, I've been able to adapt this type of mindset, this type of frame of thought, and it has literally skyrocketed my aura. Shout out to Gen Z, right? So what is this, you're probably asking? This is essentially framing anything that's negative into something that's cool. You literally make anything that goes wrong in your life cool. And obviously anything that goes well in your life cool as well. And this sounds so simple, yet there's a nuance to it that most people don't understand. I'll explain, right? Somebody who has a high level of masculine aura is never negative, right? They're always in a positive state. They're always in a positive frame. Now, someone who doesn't really have much aura is always living in a negative state. People don't want to be around them. People don't want to ask them for anything. People don't want to have any sort of interaction with them whatsoever because they're just repelling people. Right? Now, to go deeper, before you even get into this mindset and this frame, you have to understand that you also need to make sure that internally your self-worth is high. You have to have a high self-worth for this to work because your self-worth will reflect externally. Everything that's internal, your self-image internally will always reflect externally. So you always want to have that down. That's the foundation. Now, when you finally have that, you can layer in what I just mentioned, where now everything that happens to you can be reframed into something that's cool. For example, right? You get broken up with, right? Instead of just wallowing in pity, you literally be like, man, it was about time. It was about time. We were literally just lingering for way too long. And finally this happened and we're good, right? You change the scenario from like a negative to almost like a positive for yourself. And people are just like, this man can't miss. Right? The greatest people who had the best aura and were the people who were the most admired were people who could turn trash into gold. They could literally take something that was going wrong in their life and make it seem like it was the coolest shit in the world. You know what I mean? And that's what you need to do every little situation, right? You may be super skinny and you're conscious about it. Maybe you're going to start putting in the work and people are making fun of you and you're like, man, I'm skinny, but at least I got... You already know what I'm about to say afterwards. But you can spin anything. You can literally take anybody who's making an insult at you and turn it into a positive. Bad things can happen in your life and you always find some sort of a positive outcome for that. You're almost like relentlessly optimistic. You're ruthlessly optimistic. That is what a masculine aura does to you, right? It makes you relentlessly positive to where every little thing that happens, there is always a shining star. There's always some sort of like a positive side to it. And you can live like this with everything. Let's say you got fired from your job. You'd be like, man, the job was horrible anyways. Like, fuck that job. I'd rather now I can do my entrepreneurial journey. This all happened for a reason. You see how like you're reframing something that could have been negative to the normie, to the midwit that just lives in life and they're just so reactive with life and any negative thing that happens just pretty much causes them to be negative. Now, every negative thing that happens to you, you turn it into a positive, which means nothing at all is bad for you. Nothing could go wrong. And now the universe, life is literally like, we can't fuck with him. We can't keep fucking with him because he just takes everything and he just transmutes the energy into positive. And that's masculine aura. Now people want to be around you because now you're making everything look cool, right? You may live in like a shitty environment, right? But you make that shitty environment cool, right? You have the confidence that like, I am not my environment. My environment is actually, my environment's benefiting from me being there. I'm increasing the status of my environment. These are like delusional things you can think about, right? That will help you so much in life. It's the same with women, right? Woman rejects you. It's like, yo, like, it's all good. Like, I'm glad she rejected me because it wasn't going to work anyway. to save me a lot of time. Like you just reframe it into something that's going to benefit you. So that way you literally never lose. And there are people who will hate that because they're like, this dude literally doesn't lose. He always has something positive that like nothing phases him. And that's the masculine aura that makes you just undeniable everywhere that you go. Everywhere that you go. And I learned this, where I learned this the most was when I was doing my tech company, right? And as you guys know, that was a point where, the company had ended up failing, right? We went under. And I had lost my identity within that process and I almost offed myself, right? But I had this interesting, after obviously, I talk about the story all the time. I don't need to recap the story about like going through that process and hearing a voice and stopping and coming back home and shit like that. But as I was moving through life those following few days, the way that I shifted my paradigm was thinking, well, I'm glad the company failed because honestly, it would have been annoying to keep trying to raise money, to keep going through that cycle, would have just prolonged the process, probably wasn't going to work anyway. Probably the universe is opening up a new opportunity for me. So now we're going to go after new opportunities. That's how I started to reframe the situation in my head. But initially, it was seen as a bad thing, and my masculine aura reflected that, right? I was walking around slumped over, right? Not confident, not this, not that. And that all happened because I saw everything as a negative. I saw everything that happened as a negative. I saw literally everything. And it wasn't until I started to understand that you have to ruthlessly be positive in this world. Any negative thing that happens to you, you can flip it just with just a reframe in your brain. You can flip it into a positive that makes you way more magnetic because you're always going to be high upbeat. You're always going to have energy to you. You're going to have like a pulse. I won't lie to you guys, right? Like, that's one of the things I still struggle with to this day is energy management. Sometimes I let external things come in and they shake me internally, right? So that's what I'm always hyper fixated on is my energy management. Like sometimes I'll be very low energy because I'm affected by something that happened. Maybe it was an unexpected thing that occurred or something in the business didn't work the way that it needed to work. And I'm literally like, I'm in this negative state, right? And that affects people around me for sure. I get to a point where I'm very closed off. I don't really want to talk to anybody. I'm really just like my face is just super just upset. Like I get in those modes because I forget about what I'm telling you guys, which is why I made this video because this is a reminder for myself. Like when my aura is at its highest is when I can look at everything in life as a positive. I can look at every mishap, every little situation that seems like it wasn't for me, it wasn't going to benefit me into something that would benefit me, which then puts me at a higher level of energy. And that allows for me to move through life and to attract specific people into my life. That's a very powerful thing that I'm even right now learning how to do better with. I understand the concept, and that's what I'm saying. You guys can watch this video and you can think like, oh yeah, he said that, that's true, whatever. Go apply it. Look at your life. Look at when your bank account goes down. What do you do? I remember when I was, and this is around the same time when my tech company closed, I was at like negative $200 or negative $500 in my bank account, something like that, man. And I had debt. I had like $20,000 worth of debt from just borrowing for the tech company. Before we even got the investments, I was borrowing to stay alive because I had burned all my savings from my previous job. Anyway, I remember I would walk around and I would just literally look like I was a zombie. I would look like I was just in the worst possible. I felt like I was in hell, literally. I literally felt like I was in hell. Like I just pimples everywhere. I just felt like the world was ending. It was summertime. It was hot as fuck. I literally felt like I was in hell. I was getting eviction notices on my door. My ex at the time is giving me problems during this time of fixing shit, trying to fix all this shit. And there's just problems. And I'll never forget, man, like I just got to a point where I was like, fuck, bro. Like, I felt like I was in genuine hell. My energy was just completely off. And my bank account was even worse. That's what changed my energy the most. Cause I was at that point where my bank account would reflect my mood and the way that I carried myself on a day-to-day basis. And maybe some of you feel like that. Maybe it's not bank account. Maybe it's the way a woman treats you in a specific scenario that like now you're all of a sudden just thrown off and your whole entire aura just changes and you become repulsive, right? And for me at that time, it was money. And I never forget, man, like, I had talked to somebody and they're like, never, because people can see it in your eyes, man. Like, certain people who are close to you can see, like, when you're going through some shit, even especially financially, they can see it. And I remember one of my friends, he was a way older guy, right? He was like a VC, venture capitalist that was in the area. He's a black guy. He was super, super cool. This is when I was in Utah. And he was like, man, never let your current situation show in your face. Never let it reflect your energy. Always manage your energy. Manage it. Manage it, and only let positive things reflect your energy, not the negative shit, not the bank account. I already know how you're feeling right now. See, he's telling me this, and I'm feeling triggered because I'm like, man, I don't want anybody to know my situation, you know? And I never forgot that thing. And ever since then, I've been wrestling with that. And now it's not really the money piece that does it, but it's more of like, how close am I to my realized potential, right? When I always talk about this unrealized potential gap, that gives me the most, I don't want to say anxiety, but it gives me the most discomfort and brings my aura down when I reflect on how far I have left, because the vision of myself is so high. What you guys see now is like maybe 10% of where I actually see myself going. And every time I see that 90% is still there, or maybe now it's 80%, like, I lose, like, the aura is gone. The masculine aura is gone. Now everything is negative. Now I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I just making videos on YouTube? Why can't I go and I speak on stages? Why can't I do this? Why can't I, write a book that's a bestseller and do this? And why can't I? Now I'm thinking of all these, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? And now I look at my environment and I get mad. And then the aura now dies. Now I don't want to talk to nobody. Not even my own wife. I don't even want to talk to anybody. I just want to stay fucking closed off. Which then is negative, because that's like a domino effect, right? Because it just keeps happening. It keeps happening. It keeps happening. But I'm telling you this, guys, right now, like, your masculine aura, if you can master this reframing of all of your scenarios that happen in your life and know that everything happens for a reason. There's a reason why I'm not accelerating towards my unrealized potential right now, because that's my bottleneck right now. That's what I, as a human being, I'm just like you guys, that's what I'm struggling with, is feeling behind on my unrealized potential. Yes, have I made it beyond where most men would have made it? Yes. Am I still young? Yes, I'm 28. Cool. I don't give a fuck. My goals are very, very high, right? And to get there, there are certain things that I need to be doing that need to happen a lot faster. But I can't look at that and think like, oh, this is horrible, this is bad, and then have that change my entire energetic state, which then dims my aura, which then when I get on videos, I don't sound like I'm alive. I sound like I'm dead. Yesterday's video was dope. I was alive, bro. Because I reframed everything in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not hitting my unrealized potential right now. I'm not completely clearing it because it's not time yet. Of course it's not time. And here's the thing, you guys might be saying like, well, that sounds like delusion. Of course. That's how you win. You have to give yourself the delusion that everything is working in your favor. And you might be thinking, well, Martel, that's not true. That's not the objective truth. And I'll keep saying this shit until you guys get this through your fucking thick skulls. Some of you guys actually you guys get it. The truth is malleable. The truth is malleable. The truth is subjective to how you perceive it. It is based on your paradigm. We can even look at politics. One person may see Trump as the worst person in the world. One person may see Trump as the savior of the world. Two different paradigms looking at it from two different angles. If you look at boxing, there's different angles that you hit that give you a different result. You create certain angles to get a different result. It's the same with life. So the truth is so malleable that it literally, your perception can create a new truth for you. Now, it's not a universal truth. There's very few universal truths, but the subjective truths that you can create for yourself that can elevate your energetic state to where your masculine aura is at an all-time fucking high. That's what you do. That's how you do it. You have to view things in a positive paradigm. Everything has to be twisted positively. You will be incredibly amazed by how well that transforms your life inside and out. I'm not just saying this shit just to say it. It genuinely does. Right? I'm practicing it now. I'm not sitting here saying I've mastered this, guys, but I had to tell you guys this because this is what I'm going through right now. And I feel like there's a lot of men who also might be at that point where, you know, they have unrealized potential and they want to get to a certain point and they need that masculine aura, that masculine energy to be able to get themselves there. By the way, I do help men with that because I've worked on it for myself multiple times. Now I'm taking it to another level. But if you're interested in that, you're a man who's accomplished things financially, you've accomplished things physically, you know, you're doing pretty well, but you need to hit that next step. You know, you have unrealized potential. You know, you want to close that gap, much like what I just talked about with myself right now. Hit me up because I have full frameworks that I've created that I'm implementing that's been helping me tremendously. I work with you one-on-one every week, 12 weeks. We get you to the highest potential we can get you to, changing your subconscious mind, changing your self-image, getting your identity to align with exactly what it is that you want, and making sure that all of those subconscious blockages, all of the shit that happened in the past, trauma, all of that shit is literally integrated into you to where you can use it. All the shadows that you have, all that shit is integrated. So there's that. All of my paid courses and programs will be below as well. If you're interested in improving yourself and you haven't had the financial success to be able to qualify for working with me one-on-one, all good. I have things that are affordable for you to start in the foundation of everything, right? So again, I hope this video is valuable for you. I appreciate you and I'll catch you on the next video.